Who's the last one standing? Who is the last one standing?
Yeah.
Hi everyone, this is Angie and Steven, and we are back again with another video, and today we are going to discuss about how we met and our dating life. Please feel welcome, like, share and subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you guys, welcome to our channel. And yeah, let's start.
Okay, as usual, I have my notes with me, at least something that I will use to guide me. Maybe we start with you, babe.
Yeah. Yeah, so probably let's start from the beginning. So how it all started, where we first kind of knew each other, we became friends first, and I remember we started chatting online before we actually physically met. So I remember when we started talking, a few weeks later we met. I remember that day you were going for, the first time we actually met in person, you were going for clearance for graduation, right? And that time I remember I told you that we should meet for 15 minutes because I didn't want you to get late to your bus, for your bus, but then you felt that was disrespectful, kind of like, how can I just tell you we can only meet for 15 minutes? Like, you felt like you were creating your time, but I wasn't appreciating that time, kind of. And kind of our meeting in person kind of started off that way with a bang. But that was in 2018 when we first started. That was towards November of 2018. We started chatting online. We got to know each other. And then the interesting thing is that a friend of mine, our church mate actually, was someone that you went to school with.
Actually, we had a lot of mutual friends.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing. I knew a lot of people that were, I never actually knew that you were going to the church that you're going to, but after getting to know you is when I was like, I know a few people that go to this church. So that kind of piqued my interest as well. So it was easier to just socialize with you, because I kind of had this social anxiety as well of just not having too many friends as well. But for you it was kind of, that's how we kind of knew each other at the beginning. And then I don't know if that's a good story. Maybe we can get your perspective of how we did.
Okay, so basically we met online. We started chatting, we chatted for a while, and then we decided to meet. And it happened the day I was traveling to clear for my graduation is the day he asked me to meet him. So he asked me to meet him for only 15 minutes, and I found it a bit disrespectful. I found it a bit disrespectful. I understand. But though I found it disrespectful. So we had late lunch or early lunch?
It was around noon. Was it noon?
Yeah, it was around noon. So I left for Nairobi by 1 p.m. So basically we met on social media, just through chatting, through friends. So we became friends for a while. Then we continued with the journey. By the way, around that time I was just from a terrible heartbreak, a terrible one. Well, I shouldn't even say it was way terrible, because it was all for my good. It was all for my good, and it was not something that I could not handle. It was something that I could handle with the help of my parents, because there were moments when my mom could just shut herself in her room and just pray because she was not sure about the relationship that I was in. Number two, and she always wants us to start in a Christian foundation or in a Christian in the church foundation or yeah, something of the sort. That was not the case. So she did not vote for that relationship. So there were moments when she could just shut herself in her room and pray for me. And there was a time even my dad asked me, kwani what happened? Mbona mama na mention sana relationship, what is happening? So I explained to my dad, and my dad, fortunately or unfortunately, took my mother's side. So I was left alone, and knowing who my parents are, there's nothing much I could do about it. So I just had to surrender, because where was I going to take him for introduction? No one was going to receive him. So yeah, we met online with my husband. We started chatting. We became friends. We met when I was going for my clearance in Nairobi. We came back and we continued being friends, visiting each other. I was the one visiting him. Yeah, yeah, because you could not come home.
Yeah, and I think since end 2018 to end 2019,
yeah,
we were basically just friends.
Yeah.
So
getting to know each other.
Yeah, getting to know each other.
Yeah.
For me, it was kind of just also friendship. I wasn't so sure where to kind of continue on, or whether to kind of continue on into something serious.
Yeah.
But it was just more of like I wanted to get more friends, because I had very few friends.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to get more friends and just get to know you, get to know the person you are, and just kind of, I wasn't so sure where this whole thing was going or to lead into. And so sometimes, you just kind of just meet people, and then over time you get to learn, oh, this person is actually quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I that is what I can remember about how we met. And basically the meeting was not entirely planned, but I only met you for a very short time.
Yeah.
And then you had to take the bus to Nairobi. And then I remember when you came back, the day you came back that we were having sports at Kenyari.
No.
That's another time.
Yeah, that's another time.
Yeah, but I remember like it took a long time again before we even met in person again, right?
Yeah.
Almost a month.
Yeah, and you were in the same city.
Yeah, so I remember that took some time before we actually kind of met. And then when we finally met, we just started hanging out, right? Getting to know each other, and then I guess my feelings zikaanza kuingia.
Yeah, hapo ndo feelings ilianza kuingia, and to some extent I do thank my parents so much. I do thank them a lot. At around that time when I was going through that season of breakup, they were there. They would cover me in prayers, and there was a time my mom had a dream that they were fighting with a snake. The snake had me in its mouth, and on the other end she was trying to pull me. So at around that time, 12 midnight, she had to come in prayers just for me. And I believe that God communicates at times through our parents, because there are times when we are in love, we tend to block our ears, we tend to block our minds. We do not want to hear God speak because we want what we want. So maybe just an advice, but let's learn to listen to our parents, just as the word of God says, children obey your parents. Yeah, so I think that really helped me. It saved me. And at times when I walk outside, when I'm speaking to my friends, that is one testimony that I never fail to give, because I know where I came from. One day I'll narrate to you. I know where I came from, and where I am. At times I just cry to God and just appreciate and thank Him for the far He has brought me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think I think I never had too, too much drama,
Yeah.
but still think I kind of did because I wasn't so sure like when to settle or when to move forward. I had trust issues.
Yeah.
And so for the trust issues, I couldn't just give myself to get into any kind of commitment
Yeah.
at that time. And so also my friends were not so sure, like, oh yeah, you like, so it was just difficult the kind of friends I was having as well were not in any serious relationships. So
Yeah.
it's
Somehow, not to boast. I think when we started, then our friends started coming through.
yeah.
Our friends started seeing
Yeah.
other people, and now we somehow formed a circle or a group of friends that are now dating Nani, seeing Nani, we are
Yeah.
seeing you, Nani, seeing Nani,
Yeah.
and luckily enough, they are all married right now.
Almost all.
Almost all,
Almost
yeah.
all are settled and married.
Yeah,
We thank God for that.
yeah,
Maybe to go into our dating life.
yeah,
I think when we became friends, we still had a bit of challenges in communication as well.
yeah.
I think communication is our biggest our biggest tussle. Because nowadays we are better communicators.
Yeah.
I think how you speak and how I receive communication was a challenge
Yeah.
in that felt like we were not in the same frequency of how we were communicating. So that was a tussle until I remember how we kind of ended up starting to date. We used to have a lot of conflict. You remember that?
Yeah, we used to
We
quarrel.
used to disagree a lot.
Yeah.
And we were just friends.
Yeah.
But I remember that time when we were just together, and then we were just friends.
Yeah.
And then it took some time before I could show any kind of commitment. And I remember you came to me and asked me, okay, what are we doing here? Because we used to meet almost
every Sunday.
Every Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it took a while for him to define what we were sharing, because he could call me out for dates. He could invite me to their place because he used to stay with a friend of his. So they could invite me to their place. We cook, we eat, we just have fun. So I asked him to define. Actually, after we met and we were friends for a while, I went back to church and talked to my pastor.
Mhm.
And my pastor asked me, no, you guys cannot just be going on dates. Can he define what he wants from what you guys are doing right now? And that is when I came back to you and I persisted. I need you to define what we are sharing, because we kept on going for dates, but I did not have clarity of what he really wanted.
I actually enjoy meaningful conversations, and I was having that with you.
Yeah.
So to have those meaningful conversations, I felt like, yeah, we can still continue being friends, because I also had other friends as well.
Yeah.
So I never really kind of saw a big deal with it until you actually said, and I was seeing like the borders between our friendship and something being more serious was just becoming too thin.
Yeah.
And so after a while, I remember the day that I kind of just asked you to, I remember I came to you at a friend's place. I came to visit and I told you, oh, by the way, there was something I wanted to share with you.
Yeah.
Maybe we can schedule some time and share it.
Yeah.
And then you said, why don't you just go ahead and say it? I was like, no, not here. This is not the right time to say it. Maybe let's just plan for the day that I'm going to say it. So, by the time I was thinking about that, I had already kind of shared with my close friend and said, okay, maybe I want to see how this goes. For me, it was just, because still I had some trust issues coming off a relationship 6 years or 7 years before that. It was actually 6 years before that I ever had a serious relationship. Yeah, and so for me it was kind of a bit challenging.
Yeah.
So I remember just coming to you said just say it, and then I told you. So I know that's something you really desired. So I like I go ahead and tell you, okay, well, I think we should try this out. Let us see how this goes. I'd like you to be my girlfriend. And then, to my shock, you tell me, let me think about it.
Yeah,
Let me think about it and pray about it. I was so shocked. So I remember that as well. So with all that shock, I was like, are you serious? I thought, for me, I was like, I'm going to tell her this and I know she's going to be excited about it. To my surprise, it was not so.
But I wanted to surprise you. That is when I surprised you. Actually, I'm the one who called for a meetup. The next time I wanted to tell you it is okay, we can date.
After how long?
3 months.
No, it wasn't 3 months.
3 months, July and November. July, August, September, October. Actually 4 months.
It was nearly 5 months.
No, babe, it was 4 months. Because we said yes on November 26th.
November 22nd.
22nd, yeah. November
And so
22nd.
like I remember when we started when I told you that and you said you're going to pray about it. So I kept on asking you, okay, what do you feel about this? But you used to tell me, don't ask me such things, I can't say right now.
Because I was in love.
So I went and talked to a friend of mine and the friend was like, oh well, I don't think she's serious. If she was serious about you, she would have done this. So you remember that time I kind of just I would say my feelings started kind of shaking a bit. Yeah. So I kind of decided to pursue other options. I remember that.
Who's the last one standing? Who is the last one standing?
Yeah.
Anyway, in November 22nd, I called him and I asked him to meet me at.
And you remember just before that, we had not talked for a while because tulikuwa tumekosana, and then Victor, Dali, our friend, was the one who asked me one day after he asked me. We were just chatting with him, and he asked me like, I don't see this lady you are with, like you're friends with. You guys okay and all that, and say no, we are not. We stopped being friends.
Actually, I went to report you to him. There's something you did. I can't remember, but there's something you did on the distance or something. So I went to report you to him. And we decided to meet, the three of us.
So later on we decided let's meet. So we met and then we talked for a while.
Yeah.
And we went and dropped you off. It was late.
Late at night. But anyway, come November 22nd, I called him, we met at Java and gave him the yes feedback, of course, because the feelings were on top. So yeah, and that is how we started dating. Of course, dating was not so smooth, but it was not so rough again. Yeah, it was not so rough because I never had it. Just as I told you in the previous video, I was never anxious for anything. He gave me the utmost peace. Like anytime I was around him, there's this peace that I could just experience. I did not doubt him for any second. I wasn't even bothered with his phone because he never even gave any sign of maybe cheating or no, I never even bother over his. I never, because there's just this peace that I experience when I'm with him and when I'm around him.
And I remember that time before those 4 months. So that day that you asked me to come and meet you. So as I said, I had decided to pursue other options. Yeah. And so I had people that I was getting to know as well. There was still a challenge because now I was wondering where we were at with you as well. But I had other people that I tried to pursue, and then out of nowhere you called me and asked me like and told me like, okay, it's a yes. And I was wondering a yes to what exactly. So I told you, let me think about it, and you're like, huh?
what I
But I
need to think about.
I saw tears coming.
Yes, because I was not prepared.
I told
I
you.
was not prepared and very ready to date.
So you're like, what do you mean think about? You asked me this thing, but I was like, I asked you this thing 4-5 months ago. Now is when you're telling me.
Another thing, guys, maybe if I should add, if God has confirmed it to you, hey, don't waste time, by the way. If God has confirmed it to you, just say yes. Just say yes. If you're very, very sure that this is the person you want to date, through God's confirmation, just say yes. Don't take a long while. The same way I almost lost him. But Mungu ni nani? Mungu ni nani?
Yeah. So that day, I came back to my place and talked to my friend. I was like, Angie talked to me and she said this, and I was like, hey, bro, are you sure? Are you sure? So like, yeah, I think we can do this and see how it goes. But hey, man, you know when you brother. So if this is what you have decided, go ahead. So I called you in the evening and I told you yes, let's proceed.
You told me yes when you were still at Java, but you just reconfirmed it.
Yeah, kind of like I told you in the evening, like I am sure about this. Let's proceed with this. Yeah, and so that was also quite interesting. So
now we started learning to call each other babe.
Yeah, it was just
babe.
I had still saved your phone as
Angela Koteng.
I saved everyone with their full names. So it was kind of that. It was still. I think even for you, it was still like you were not so sure about it yet, right?
Well, I cannot say that I was not so sure about it, but because I had taken my whole time to think about it, to just pray about it. So it's not like I wasn't even sure about it. And what really compelled me to even go ahead with our dating is the fact that you know Christ. Your relationship with Christ stood out amongst everything that stood out, and the peace that you could give me anytime I was around you. Yeah, that stood out, and that is why I never had even any doubt.
Yeah, and so I think that's how we met, and
part of our dating life. Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it, and we are done. And again, thank you for the massive subscriptions that we had on our last video and the views, and we can only encourage you to keep on liking, sharing and subscribing. Let us learn together, let's have fun together, and probably we will always have a good time with you guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Until next time.
Bye.